Number one indicator of what is going to be a great teacher who will create a great environment and experience for children is, are they authentic? Are they genuine? Do they genuinely care for children?
Hi everybody, welcome to the Childcare channel, a space designed to inform, inspire, and innovate in the childcare space. My name is Jane Diaz and I am your host. Today we have a conversation with a very special leader in the childcare space. This is a woman I recently met who is nothing short of inspiring. Her name is April Lukasik and she is the founder and CEO of Bright and Early Learning Centers, leading now with 6 locations in the Connecticut area, with 3 more locations on the way. For the past 25 years, Bright and Early Learning Centers has become a known and respected brand because of all the ways in which our very dear guest today has brought innovation to the childcare centers. We at the Childcare channel are very, very, very excited to have this conversation with April today. And our intention is that it bring you something of value that you can implement in your own life or in your childcare business. April, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Yane. It is my pleasure to be here.
Well, April, I recently met you at the Shift conference that our dear Hinge Brokers put together. It was a wonderful event. And I was very impressed with your story of how, you even got started with childcare centers, I know it's not even what you studied in school. So I really would love to hear your story of how this whole thing began for you now 25 years later.
Sure. My field of study in college was business and marketing, and I've always been entrepreneurial. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My father and mother owned and operated nursing homes, so at the other age of the age spectrum. When I first got out of college, I had a company for about 9 years that was a labor of love. It taught me a lot of the foundational basics. It had nothing to do with childcare education. And when I was pregnant with my daughter, I realized that I just didn't want to work so hard on something that actually wasn't that successful, to be honest, at the time. And so I closed that company and I stayed home for a year or two thinking about what was the next venture. When I was pregnant with my son, I realized that in order to go back out into the workforce, I needed somewhere to have my children go that was fantastic. And I didn't even want my mother or mother-in-law at the time watching the kids. I was very protective. And I said, I just want my kids to be with me all day. And I said, I think I'm going to look into childcare because then they can be with me all day and I can still, be entrepreneurial and whatnot. So it was a snap decision. And I looked into the field and I said, this looks fabulous. And I feel like there wasn't what I would have envisioned for a child care center at the time, over 2 decades ago. So I just started from scratch. And I think one of the things that was an advantage was I wasn't coming from the industry. Every decision I made was as a mother. I was literally pregnant with my son, Zach. And I was like, well, in an infant room, I want it to be, carpeting, not carpet, individual carpets. I want it wall to wall carpeting and I want this and I would want this furniture. So all of that came bubbling to the surface. And the first center that was created really was created for my 2 kids.
Oh, wow. That's so
how I got into
amazing. I love that. It's not very often that you meet childcare center owners who actually designed a center for their own children. And I think that is remarkable. I was looking at your website and I really love how you have incorporated so many different areas of a child development, including mindfulness, nutrition, and all of that. And we want to talk more about that actually down the line. So tell me, as a mom, when you had your first center there, you had your own kids there as well, and you actually started to work. How was that experience? How were you able to, as a mother and also an owner that was working at the center, how were you able to balance that out at the time?
Well, when I first started, I said, the children will be in my office all day long. It'll be no problem. And very quickly, I realized that wasn't going to work. But it took me some time to be comfortable having somebody else be with my children 6, 7, 8 hours a day. And I very quickly realized that when you have a teacher in a classroom that is, educated in the field of early childhood education, who truly loves children, as a mother, you become comfortable with something that you didn't think you ever would be comfortable with. And I remember Miss Wendy was Zach's teacher. She's still with my company. It's actually about 27, 25, 26 years. She's still with the company, and she's still working in the infant room. And so we have teachers that have stayed all the way through. So it's about trusting the teacher. So hiring the right teachers is the foundation of any great childcare center. So I did move the children out of my office and said, okay, they're in the infant room, they're in the 2-year-old room. And it was much more comfortable of a decision since I knew exactly who those teachers were. So every time I hire a teacher to this day, in the back of my head, I think, would I want this teacher for my 2 children?
Wow, you have
culture that we.
That's incredible. And I definitely want to stay on this topic here for a little bit. Having the right people for the business. In this particular case, we're talking childcare, but it really applies to just about any business. To have a teacher in childcare that's still with you for over 25 years, that is not something that you hear about every day.
No, not in this industry.
Yeah, right. And I think in a lot of industries, it's the same for nowadays. I mean, look at even relationships, the rate of divorce and everything. We're not in a culture where we stick around for years and 20 and 30 and 40 years and things anymore, right? So it's really amazing. And I really want to stay on this topic right now because staffing was one of the big topics that we saw at the Shift conference that we're seeing in this year, especially post-pandemic, or well, technically we're still in a pandemic, but how do you go about, April? How do you go about your selection of staff? How is that process? How do you know when somebody is going to be a good fit or not?
I think you feel it inside. They come to you with the correct degree, some experience, but the number one indicator of what is going to be a great teacher who will create a great environment and experience for children is, are they authentic? Are they genuine? Do they genuinely care for children? And being in the industry this long, you can see that in people. You can feel it in the interview. And I do believe that goodness begets goodness. So my teachers that we have now, and we probably have close to 100 staff members at this point. If somebody comes in and they don't have that genuine authenticness about them, the other teachers will speak up because they're on the front lines. So it's a culture that you have to build that says, we truly care about children. We care about them. We care about their education. The details matter. Cheerfulness is important, and those are our core values. So we hire people according to our core values.
That's really amazing. So when people come in, right, and you say, okay, you're going to be a good fit, I clicked, I connected, there's authenticity, I think the values are aligned. What happens afterwards? How do you go about it afterwards? Is there an introduction period? Do you have training? How do you do it at your centers?
Yes to all of the above. We would, the director actually makes the hire of the teacher. She knows, where she believes that teacher is going to be the best fit, what age group, whether it's infants, 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, pre-K, an infant teacher is very different than a preschool teacher. And in fact, sometimes I feel like a childcare center is almost 2 businesses, one where you're caring for infants and 2 where you're putting forth an education to make these to allow these children to be ready for kindergarten. So, we have them do visits in classrooms, see how the other teachers feel about them. And, when their co-teacher who was with them for half a day or something comes in the office and they're beaming and they're like, please hire her. She's going to be amazing. We know we hit it right. And so, we hope that applicants come in and are their authentic self so that we can see whether they'll be a fit or not. But there is an orientation and training period, et cetera, et cetera. So we do make sure that they have the skills in addition to that, underlying it factor, if you will.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. Do you have any sort of questions that you ask or that any comments that you make in the interview process that makes you go, yes, this person is authentic. This person is who they say they are. Is there a particular process you have for that?
Well, the directors do the interviews, and I know that they will say, what brought you to childcare? Why are you in this field? And I think that that's probably the most important question we can ask.
So it's about how they respond, their body language, the level of tonality. It's really one of those things that sometimes you can't really quite see, touch, feel. Yeah.
If the sparkle in their eye, is it genuine? Do they get excited about showing us their portfolio of lesson plans that they created? It's an enthusiasm that we're looking for.
Yeah, I love it. And now let me ask you something. Since so much has changed in the past, I don't know, it's been 2 years now since the COVID-19. We heard at the conference that childcare, the industry as a whole, was having some challenges with hiring people because a lot of people or teachers were not available to work. Either they went to work for Amazon or on one of those big companies that raised the minimum wage. So tell me about what your experience has been in the midst of all of this when it comes to staffing and how you've managed that.
Well, as a whole, the industry is known for not hiring at the same rates that, say, some other larger companies can afford to pay. I remember it was December 2019, just before COVID. My regional director and I were looking at the pay rates, and we give raises annually to everybody. But in addition to that, we said, the minimum wage is going to be increasing in the next 2 to 3 years. I want to be ahead of it. I want to be so far ahead of it that when a teacher is looking whether she's going to work at my center or another big brand, that it's never going to be, I'm going to go somewhere else for more money. I want them to decide because, again, of that culture. So we gave out raises to everybody pretty much. And that was before COVID. And then COVID hit, and it was the best move because when we closed for, from March to June, and then the teachers had to come back and there was so much fear and uncertainty, we weren't competing with other centers that were now all of a sudden raising the rates. We had done it before COVID. It must have just been a vision. We were blessed to sort of have that drive to do that. And so we haven't really been competing for pay rates, 50 cents here or there, $1 or $2 here or there. We were already solid. And we recently just did this again. And I think the important thing is when you're in a relationship with teachers and you're paying them and they're, performing in an authentic way, I never want to be in a position where and I've seen other centers do this, let's just throw money at them. Let's just give them a signing bonus. Like, to me, that's reactive, and it's from a place of fear. If we're going to raise the rates across the board, we want it to come from a place of appreciation and gratitude. And that's how I look at that when we are compensating our teachers, it's because we truly appreciate and are grateful for them. So it's all about that authenticity. The relationship has to be authentic from myself to the regional director to the director, director to the teacher to the children,
And at the end, isn't that what matters? At the end, It's all about the children.
Absolutely.
It's about the
children
that they're getting. It's about even the subtlest things, such as, as a teacher, you might be having a bad day, because life happens, right? Even that, the children can pick up the energy. So imagine, right? It's so important that at the end of the day, the whatever culture you have in the center is something that's healthy within the administrators, the teachers, and the staff, because that's going to inevitably go down to and be trickled down to the children. So I'm really happy to see that you have this such presence in your center, that you understand this. And I want to now, shifting gears a little bit, to go to actually what the education is like for the children. There's something that really caught my eye when I was looking at your website, when I was seeing all the things that you've been doing. And it's this program of mindfulness that you have. And I believe mindfulness is one of your core values as well, right?
It is.
Tell us a little bit about how that came about, because I would imagine you had this conversation going before it became mainstream. So tell me about what made you think about, okay, this is important. We got to teach it to kids. I know you even have an app. So tell us a little bit more about that.
I would love to. So I'm in an entrepreneurial group as well as all the childcare, affiliations. And in my group, there was a woman, very innovative, very smart, and she was creating a mindfulness app for large companies. The name of her company is Cloud9. And I said, wow, wouldn't it be great if we did a mindfulness app for the teachers to use for the children? Because I have meditated, and I think it really does center you, ground you, help you think clearly. Wouldn't it be great to instill this in children? So this colleague created the app, and we're the only ones that have it in Connecticut. We have the exclusivity, but it allows the teachers to do very simple, short, sweet, guided meditations with the children. And it teaches the children to, breathe through anything that, I want to say stress or something, they're getting into a place where they, would like to be calmer. And we have songs, we have stories, we have guided meditations. And then we also have a specific segment for teachers, so they can go home and they can meditate if they'd like to. And the families have access to it so that they can play the same nap time song at night, so the children have that continuity of, now it's time to go to sleep, or we're brushing our teeth. So it's been great. And we just put out like 20 more meditations, so the content keeps growing. And so that's how that came across. It was a colleague that had this company, and so we decided to do a collab and do a bright and early meditation app.
That is remarkable.
Everyone loves it.
Well, I would love it. I mean, I don't have any children, but if I did, I think I might have to move to Connecticut. So let me ask you something. How long have you been using this mindfulness app?
I think it's about a solid year. We just came up on our year, and we just looked at all the meditations and decided which ones need more content. So it's been a good year.
And have you extended this to the parents as well?
They get it for free when they're enrolled. Yes. And teachers, it's free. It's free for everybody. There's no subscription. I pay for it on the back end.
That's amazing. So this is really out there in innovation in your space, because what I love about it most is that not only do the children get this type of instruction, but all of their leaders, right? Because when you're a child, you are at the expense of, you're dependent on your parents, you're dependent on your teachers, and pretty much every other adult responsible for you. So it's really great that you're building this in a way that it creates a support system for the child beyond whatever hours they spend at your center. Mm-hmm. So this is remarkable, and it's very aligned too with our mission here at the Childcare Channel. And One Core Solution is the company that sponsors the channel, and their whole mission is deliver peace of mind. So the mindfulness and everything that we do in this space, it's very extremely aligned with what we're about. So we really love that. So Tell me something, April, where you're at right now. You're in the middle of opening 3 new locations.
Yes.
How do you normally, I mean, it takes a lot to have just one location, to have almost 9 now, or to just have about 9 now. It takes some remarkable level of consistency, discipline, maybe even systematization, right, of process. Tell us a little bit about your process when you are in the middle of, okay, it's time for me to expand. How do you decide that? And then what do you do from that time till actually opening a new center?
I'm a very organized person. I think that I am. So I think it's all about staying organized. And, having the right people on my team. My regional director, we're going to go look at 2 more centers this week. We're meeting with owners, their acquisitions, and we think alike, and we don't procrastinate, and we just, have lists. I have lists and binders and, online file folders. I'd say organization is the key. And then when I started expanding, I did make systems, and I have checklists. Okay, this is what needs to be done to, fill the centers with furniture, fixtures, and equipment. These are the technology systems that have to be in place. So lists and organization.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about, so if somebody is either considering opening a new childcare center or maybe expanding, excuse me, what are some of the, since we're about technology, what are some of the technologies that you have in your center, obviously besides the Mindfulness app?
Yeah.
What are some of the technologies that you use to actually manage everything in your center?
Sure. So my advice to anybody out there that wants to open a childcare center, don't reinvent the wheel. There's plenty of software systems out there that you can choose. We use ProCare. Many large chains use ProCare, and ProCare makes it very easy to track enrollment, to track tuition payments. As much as I can automate, I do, because that keeps it consistent, and I can go on my ProCare screen and run reports and track KPIs throughout, all the companies, and see how everyone is doing. So we use ProCare. We use a fingerprint entry system, which records the parents coming and going, and that's, secure and safe. I use outside companies to run all the payroll, to pay all the bills, so that I don't get in the weeds of working in my business instead of being able to work on my business. So I want to make sure that I have a clear mind so that I can focus on, is this the best location? Is this the best new director, regional director? So I believe in delegation for any kind of system that you can.
Perfect. Delegation and automation. That's the dream right there.
Living the dream.
That's right. So let me ask you, it's going to sound like a random question, but I think it's fitting based on everything that we're talking about here. If you could only spend 2 hours a week working on your business, you only get 2 hours to work on your businesses, okay? What would you spend those 2 hours on?
I would want to be speaking directly to the regional director and the director for half that time, because I think it's really important to always have a pulse on the front line and what's actually happening. And the other hour, oh my gosh, probably just organization, just keeping it organized.
Keeping it organized and strategizing, right? Okay, well, that's wonderful. And I say that because I don't know if you heard about Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law, have you heard about it?
No.
So Parkinson's law stipulates that you will take whatever amount of space is available. So whether it's physical space or space in terms of time, when you say to yourself, okay, I have this meeting to do, right? And I'm going to give myself 1 hour or 2 hours for this meeting. You will end up taking up the 2 hours that you set for the meeting. Whereas if you say, I'm going to have this meeting and I'm going to do it in half an hour, you end up taking half an hour for your meeting normally. That is Parkinson's law. The easiest example to illustrate this is when you have a purse. I know us ladies, right? We carry purses. Well, I should say anybody can carry a purse, right? But most of us ladies like a lot of purses. When you have a small purse, it's full. Yeah. All of a sudden you get a medium purse, it's full. Or you get a big purse and it's full too. So
that is so true.
Yes, the reason why I like to ask this question so much is that a lot of times as business owners, we probably could maximize time by focusing on what's truly most important. So for me, this question helps me to stay on track when it's like, okay, what is the most important? What is the most important? So thank you for answering that so well. Okay, we're nearing the end of our interview here, Miss April. So what would you like to share with the audience before we jump to a little nice set of questions that I have to close?
You know, because I've been in the business for so long now, longer than I can imagine, sometimes people will say, if you could share advice to your younger self, what would it be? And I've thought really long and hard about that question. And I would say, trust your intuition. I would say, trust your gut feeling whenever you need to make a decision, answer a question, which path should I go on? And I would have trusted my intuition a lot earlier.
Oh, that's really great advice. I will second that advice. And now let me ask you something, because a lot of times we're a little bit disconnected from ourselves and our intuition. So maybe as a follow-up to that, you could share how what you do to know that you are connected to that source, to that pure, authentic level of intuition.
I think sometimes it's just a matter of sitting in silence and, maybe with a piece of paper and really thinking about, what do I want to know the answer to? And just feeling it instead of, I can run my demographic reports and I can look at the KPIs. And I've spent hours like dissecting numbers and pieces of data. And it's really interesting that if I decide what I think the answer is going to be, and then I go through that, hours long process of backing it up with logistics and numbers, I'm telling you, like 99% of the time, the answer that I first thought it would be is backed up by hours of research and due diligence. And I always just smile and go, yeah, I knew that. I know my industry. And a lot of it is experience. But I also think it's just, taking the time to quietly feel the answer instead of overthink it.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. So April, where can people find you? How can they get in touch if they have any questions or want to learn more?
Brightandearly.com is the website. And if somebody has a question, I'm happy to help and mentor anybody. My email is april@brightandearly.com.
I love it. Well, we like to close the show with something that we call 3 in a Beat, which is a series of just 3 questions that I would like to ask you, where you give me a 1-word answer or at the most a 1-sentence answer. Okay. So are you ready to play 3 in a Beat?
I'm ready.
Okay, so we'll start with an easy one. Most gifted or recommended book?
Harold's Double Double. I want to make sure I have the title correct. Yes, that was my favorite business book. Double Double.
Love it. All right, second question. Something worth giving up?
Social media. I think it's a lot of white noise. I don't think it brings as much quality into your life as it could.
All right. And then last question for 3 in a Beat. Something worth fighting for?
Relationships. Family and friends and other relationships. People.
All right. I love that. Well, April, it has been such a joy to have you here on the Childcare channel. I definitely look forward to having you back sometime soon, because you have so much to share. So thank you for your time and for sharing all of your wisdom.
My pleasure, Yane. It was really fun.